The microphone, Matt.
Hello, Ange. Jurgen Klopp did say that as a football person, not as a Liverpool manager, that he would like a replay of the game. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jurgen's kind of said that maybe that was taken a little bit out of context. Look, my view is when you're talking about a replay, there's got to be some sort of threshold, and I don't think a mistake is a threshold for that, irrespective of the consequences. So I think, if we're straying into integrity or misappropriation of the law, then you kind of maybe have a case to say, well, you know what, there's something there, but ultimately, when you strip it all back, it was a mistake. That's what it was. It was a unique mistake. It was, I think people have used an unprecedented mistake, yes, I agree with that, but it was still a mistake. So if your threshold for replays are mistakes by individuals, that's 365 games a year, I reckon.
And can I just ask you, you said after the game that you're not a big fan of VAR and never have been. Would you make any case for getting rid of it?
I would in its current form. I just don't think that technology is ready for our game. I mean, I've got nothing. I've got absolutely zero against goal line technology. It's such a no-brainer, because that's quite significant. But it works for our game. I just think our game is unique. And I know people say, well, let's get referees explaining their decisions. Oh my God, seriously. Could you imagine sitting there listening to a referee explain every decision on the game? I mean, I'm going to the gridiron on Sunday, and I love it. I love American football. It's 3.5 hours, mate. Do you want to sit through 3.5 hours of listening? I mean, referees, the measure of who was a good referee was the ones you never noticed. And now we're trying to make them the stars of the show. We're analysing in slow motion yellow cards. And like I said, we as coaches and players, we're the worst culprits for it, because we talk about, integrity and all these things, and yet I guarantee you, watch a game of football tonight, any game, the first throw in, I bet you both teams appeal for it, with one knowing it's not theirs. Yeah? And if you get it, you don't go, well, actually, it wasn't ours, it's theirs, give it to them. So it's just human beings. We're trying to take advantage. There's nothing wrong with that. We're trying to work within the framework of what we're given. But I just think with VAR at the moment, I said it last week, we think it's going to eliminate, and the more we use it, I think the worse it's going to get. It was there for, what was the term? The clear and obvious error. It seems like everything now, like I said, yellow cards, fouls, corners, everything's getting scrutinised with that. And it's not our game. We're not rugby. We don't have those stoppages. The beauty of our game, what I always loved about, particularly England, was the frenetic pace of football. That's what everyone kept saying. Premier League, the English First Division, that was the difference between some other leagues where you go, so slow and ponderous and drives you nuts. Not the English League, it's bang, bang. Why are we trying to take that out? Now, I think part of the consequence of last week was that none of us liked it when they were taking so long for a decision. And I felt last week it sounded like they were rushing it to a decision. So maybe that's a consequence of. So that suggests to me that I don't think the technology in its current form is suitable to our game. But I know that I'll be in a minority of that, and I guess my role within that is to try and sort of accept that, whatever my feelings are on it, ultimately there's still going to be an arbiter of decisions, and we have to abide by wherever they come about.
Just on from that, Ange, I mean, how much fun is football anymore with VAR the way it's being used at the moment? You talked last week, I think, about not being able to celebrate goals straight away or not wanting to. Is it sucking fun out of football? I
don't know about that. I mean, it's still fun, but I think I said it to Vince during the week. This is probably the only time where I'm happy I'm 58, not 38. I don't know what the game's going to look like in 20 years' time, and I'm not sure I would like it with the way it's going, because I've always loved, the fact that our game has more flaws in it, and that, the uniqueness of our game is the goal is so hard to get, and we always focused around that, and usually goals came from either combination of brilliance or some flaws by someone, you know, a player, a manager, a referee, something happened and a goal came, you know, and we're trying to sanitise all that by trying to make it into something that I just don't think is our game. That's not what I've loved about about football. Like I said, I've loved the imperfect nature of it. And when you're sitting there, you know, analysing every little, like I said, decision, and it seems that we're going that way where people just want, you know, every decision to be right, then that's going to, I think it'll slow down the game invariably. There'll be more interruptions, and that'll take away from what I love about the game. But that's me personally, you know, I'm not, other people may see it differently.
And just how's Destiny Doggy this week? Obviously had a pretty horrible experience off the back of that game on Sunday.
Yeah, no, he's okay. He's good. You know, like I said, good environment here where people have the support they need, and the players are well aware these days that there are avenues where you can deal with these things, and no need to sort of deal with them. On a personal level, you can alert the authorities and make sure that the people who are doing these things get treated accordingly.
Tom, and we talked a lot about players who've kind of come in and done a lot better this season than the year. Just what about the players who aren't kind of in the team at the moment? Some pretty big names who aren't playing. How you kind of keeping them happy and what their kind of contribution is to the squad? Yeah, look, I've never seen my role as keeping players happy, because my role is to try and create an environment where they feel like they're valued and contribute. But the reality of it is that 11 players will play. Some players have had more game time than others. But I mentioned to the lads this week, if you see our training, our best trainers are guys like Ben Davies, Skippy, Emerson, Royale. Unbelievable training, and these guys aren't playing. So that kind of sets a standard for the whole group. If you're not training well, these guys are ready to step in, and they're disappointed they're not playing. Absolutely, 100%, as they should be. But the way they train, I think I mentioned Fraser Foster a couple of weeks ago. These guys, the reason we're kind of had a really strong level of performance so far is because our training's been at such a high standard, because they're the guys who potentially could affect your training, because if they're not at it, if they're sort of feeling sorry for themselves, then it affects the whole training group. But them being the best trainers means that the guys who are playing go, well, I better train well because these guys are ready to take my spot, So, within that context, but that doesn't mean that they're happy. I wouldn't expect them to be happy, but, that's not my role. I don't go around sort of, taking surveys on how people feel every day. It's just about, like I said, providing an environment for them where they feel valued, and we work with them. We treat them all the same, and when the opportunity arises, they get the opportunity to contribute. What about Eric Dyer specifically in that? I mean, not in the England squad, obviously, hardly played. He's a big player for 10 years. Have you spoken to him?
No, I haven't had any chats to Eric. He's had a couple of sort of disruptions, in terms of a couple of injuries. Last week he wasn't well. He was in the squad, but he wasn't well, so we left him out. So, he's. But again, he's training, and he's making himself available, and with all these guys, if they feel the need to discuss their future, then I'm more than happy to do that. But I'm not going to go out and seek it unless I see there's an issue there. And for me, the issue is, well, are they training well? Are they contributing to what we're doing? If they're doing that, I see no reason to have extra discussions with them.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left if anyone wants to final ones.
Can I just ask about Luton, who obviously have come up far fewer resources compared to the rest of the team, so far less possession than anyone. I know you said in the broadcast section that your game plan remains the same, but how much more challenging is that?
It's not more challenging, it's just a different challenge, and you have to sort of respect that. You can't just go there and think, well, okay, they're going to be one-dimensional and they're just going to play a certain way. Like I said, there's a resilience and sort of competitiveness in them that you have to match. If you don't do that, then whatever sort of our ambitions are in terms of trying to dominate the game in the way we want to, those conditions might not exist. So we may have to, do some things that we haven't had to do so far to overcome it, and you respect that. So you analyse their game plan and you go for it. But I don't think it's a greater or a lesser challenge. I mean, that's the Premier League. You're always going to be playing somebody that's fighting for something, absolutely. And if you're not at the top of the game, of your own game, or you kind of go into it sensing that somehow it's going to be a lesser challenge or even a greater challenge, then I think that's where you get the potential to sort of trip up.
And Vince, to finish us off, please.
And John, when you talk about the essence of the game, a grounds like Kenilworth Road, for all its imperfections, is a small part of it. And when you think about what's in store this weekend and all the things about that ground, like where does your mind go to in terms of places you've played or coached that have been quite unique?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sort of frame it that way. I think that's maybe being a little bit disrespectful to a club that's fought, as we said, against clubs with greater resources, and it's for them that's their home. So I've always, as you said, I've kind of traversed the whole football sort of landscape and of being in all sorts of environments. But I've always respected all of them because that's their home, that's the club's home, and you respect that and what it gives to those people. They, and I certainly don't look down or just think, we've got to go to a smaller ground. It's a football venue. It's for that town. They take pride in their team, in their stadium, the same way, I did when I was at clubs with lesser sort of facilities. That's their home. So I don't sort of think about it in any terms other than we're facing a tough Premier League opponent and there's 3 points up for grabs and we've got to be at our best to knock them off.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.